He said that when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants good for the soul of the person, then Allah tabaraka wa ta'ala will place within it that which will purify it and develop it and rectify it of correct iradat and tasawwurats, of correct intentions and understandings. Pay attention to these two things that Ibn Qayyim rahimahullah ta'ala mentioned. The words of the scholars, and they are tremendous and they are carefully chosen. The speech of the scholars is carefully chosen. And the written speech of the scholars, the spoken speech is carefully chosen. The written speech of the scholars is even more carefully chosen. Ibn Qayyim rahimahullah ta'ala, he said that Allah will place within it the correct intentions and understandings. He mentioned before in a previous chapter in this book that the entirety of the functions of the heart goes back to two things: quwwatul idrak wa quwwa al-irada. And the ability to perceive and understand, and the ability to desire and aspire. The ability to perceive and understand, to understand and realize, perceive things, to grasp information is the first thing. And the second thing, the second ability of the heart, that all of the functions and abilities of the heart go back to, and all of the diseases of the heart go back to. After the ability to perceive and understand is the ability of al-irada wal-himma, the ability of al-irada, of desiring and intending and aspiring. All of the diseases of the heart, they go back to shubuhat and shahawat. All of the fitna in the dunya goes back to shubuhat and shahawat. Shubuhat, doubts, are a corruption of the idrak of the heart, the perception of the heart. Shahawat, desires, are a corruption of the irada and the himma of the heart, and the intention of the heart. At-tawheed has naw'an, has two categories. Tawheed has two categories: the tawheed of knowledge and the tawheed of action. The tawheed of knowledge includes the tawheed of the names and the attributes of Allah and the tawheed of al-rububiyyah. The tawheed of action is the tawheed of worship. We worship Allah because of what we know about Allah. The tawheed of worship is called the tawheed of al-talabi wal-qasd, because worship is built upon ikhlas. It is built upon the intention of the person first and foremost. The entirety of the religion at Tawheed goes back to rectifying the heart of the person. The what? The perception of the person, the person's understanding. The greatest thing that a person can know about is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Knowing about Allah, Ibn Taymiyyah rahimahullah ta'ala, he mentioned, is the key to knowing about everything else. Abdullah ibn al-Mubarak and Malik ibn Dinar, he said, Masakinu ahl dunya dhahabu min ad-dunya wa ma dhaqu atyaba ma fiha ma'rifatullah. That the unfortunate people are those who leave from this world and never taste the best thing in it, which is knowing Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Knowing about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Knowing about the names and the attributes and the actions of Allah tabarak wa ta'ala. And the sunan of Allah al-kawniyah, and how Allah tabarak wa ta'ala deals with the creation. Raising some and lowering others, enriching some, impoverishing others. Knowing the connection of the asbab and the musabbabat, the belief in the qadr, which goes back to the belief in the rububiyyah, which goes back to the belief in the tawheed of knowledge. What we know about Allah tabarak wa ta'ala is the greatest affair of knowledge. And it produces the tawheed of al-qasd, al-talab wal-qasd, of seeking and intending. The tawheed of seeking and intending. The tawheed of worshipping Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for the sake of Allah, alone without partners, with that which Allah has legislated from the sunnah of the Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. The whole religion goes back to rectifying the heart and the functions of the heart. Ibn Qayyim rahimahullah ta'ala, he said, when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala إذا أراد بها خيرا جعل فيها ما تزكو به وتصلح من الإرادات والتصورات. When Allah wants good for this soul, it will place the correct intentions and the correct perceptions within the person, so that his understanding of the world around him and how to behave in the world around him revolves around what he knows about Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala and the names and the attributes of Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala, and what follows from that of the orders and the prohibitions of Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala that emanate from the mercy of Allah and the justice of Allah and the kindness of Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala and the wisdom of Allah and the knowledge of Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala. The affair of knowing about Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala that sets a person's heart aright, so that Allah becomes akbaru hammihi, and becomes the greatest ambition of the person. And the hereafter becomes, and the meeting with Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala becomes the greatest concern of the person. When a person is upon that, and the person whose heart is alive is a person whose heart beats with tawheed. It's the da'wah of the anbiya and the rusul, the da'wah of the prophets and the messengers, the methodology of Ahl Sunnati wal Jama'ah. When people say that manhaj is not important, you say you don't know manhaj if you say that statement. Manhaj is not important. This is the manhaj da'wah, the methodology of da'wah. And wallahi, anyone who goes away from that methodology, anyone who strays from the methodology of the prophets and the messengers, and they try to cure the people of that which is a disease and a sickness, and that which will not correct, but that which will corrupt, having a nasib of the wa'id of Allah, having a portion, deserving a portion of the threat of Allah. For the munafiqeen, where they said, إِنَّمَا نَحْنُ مُصْلِحُونَ, when it was said to them, لَا تُفْسِدُوا فِي الْأَرْضِ, do not cause corruption in the earth, they say, إِنَّمَا نَحْنُ مُصْلِحُونَ, we are only the people of Islah. You will not find people having the characteristics of the munafiqun more than Ahlul Bid'ah wa Dalala. When somebody brings entire principles and a qa'idah, and he is a qadiyya kulliyya tandariju tahtaha juzi'atun kathira, a principle, an asl, a fundamental. They want to change the fundamentals of the religion as regards methodology and rectifying the individual in the society. And a person says, these people are too worried about manhaj. You say, La hawla wa la quwwata illa billah. La hawla wa la quwwata illa billah. These people are inventing false principles. Do you know how dangerous a false principle is? The definition of a principle Islamically, and it is that it is a qadiyya kulliyya, and it is a comprehensive, encompassing affair. Tandariju tahtaha juzi'atun kathira, and that everything of a certain type falls under. And it is something that when you say you have a different methodology in Islah, a different methodology in da'wah, you not only innovate in one affair, but your innovations are muta'addida, mutataliya. They come one after another, after another, after another, after another. احذر صغار المحدثات فإنها تعود حتى تصير كبارا. Beware of the small innovations, because they grow until they eventually become enormous. وَالْبِدْعَ بَرِيدَ الْكُفْرِ وَالشِّرْكِ. And innovation is a herald announcing the approach of kufr and shirk. And the affair of manhaj, the affair of tawheed, is the pivotal point of Ahl Sunnati wal Jama'ah, of how to rectify the soul. فَإِذَا أَرَادَ سُبْحَانَهُ وَتَعَالَى بِهَا خَيْرًا جعل فيها ما تزكو به وتصلح من الإرادات والتصورات وإذا لم يرد بها ذلك تركها على حالها التي خلقت عليها من الجهل والظلم. He said, so when Allah wants good for the individual, for the soul of the individual, then Allah by His mercy will place within the person. It is because of Allah, Ya Abdullah, not because of you. You have nothing to be astonished about. You have nothing to be conceited about. You have nothing to be pompous about. Has nothing to do with you. Praise Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala for His fadl, and beg Him, and yudimaha alayk, and to allow you to retain it. Beg Allah tabaraka wa ta'ala to keep your heart firm. Has nothing to do with us. And everything to do with the rahmah of Allah tabaraka wa ta'ala. Ibn Qayyim rahimahullah ta'ala, he said, then he will place within the person that which will rectify his soul and correct his soul and purify his soul of the correct intentions and perceptions and understandings. وَإِذَا لَمْ يُرِدْ بِهَا ذَلِكَ تَرَكَهَا عَلَى حَالِهَا الَّتِي خُلِقَتْ عَلَيْهَا. And when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, out of His divine justice, does not will that for the human being, then He will leave it in the condition that it was created upon, of al-jahli wal-dhulm, of ignorance and oppressiveness. Of ignorance and oppressiveness. And the one who was pleased with that, well, Allah tabaraka wa ta'ala, He said, إِنَّا هَدَيْنَاهُ السَّبِيلِ إِمَّا شَاكِرًا وَإِمَّا كَفُورًا. And we guided them to the path. Allah tabaraka wa ta'ala has cut off the a'dhar, He has cut off the excuses. وَأَقَامَ الْحُجَّةِ. And He has established a proof upon the creation. And He sent the prophets and the messengers with al-adillah, al-aqliyah, al-fitriyah, wal-barahin. He has sent them with the logical proofs and the evidences that are indisputable. That are indisputable for the belief in the oneness of Allah as regards His names, His attributes, His actions, and His right to be worshipped. For the truthfulness of the prophets and the messengers and everything that they call to and informed us of concerning the orders of Allah and prohibitions of Allah. And the promises of Allah tabaraka wa ta'ala and the threat of Allah tabaraka wa ta'ala. The logical proofs and the evidences for al-ma'ad, for the belief in the day of judgment. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has cut off the excuse. He has given the person the qudrah. He has given the person what they need to seek the correct information while we live in a time of technology and information. And the people have no type of himmah, no type of aspiration or desire to look for the khair. When Allah tabaraka wa ta'ala, out of this cesspool of khubuth, of filth and disgustingness, guided you to Islam. And if you were to look in your family, some of you who are the first Muslims that Allah tabaraka wa ta'ala guided to Islam as reverts, new Muslims, people that accepted Islam, and you are the first generation, and now Allah has blessed you with Muslim children, and so on and so forth. Or inshallah, will bless you with Muslim children. If you were to look back for the last 50, 60, 70, 80, 100, 200, 300, 400, 500 years, you may not find another Muslim in your lineage up until the time of Nuh. And out of all that, Allah chose you for Islam. And Allah guided you to Islam. Allahu Akbar Kabir. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala guided you to this. It's from the mercy of Allah tabaraka wa ta'ala. And from the kindness of Allah tabaraka wa ta'ala. And if Allah tabaraka wa ta'ala left you upon what you had chose for yourself and what you wanted for yourself, and what you used the intention and the heart that Allah tabaraka wa ta'ala gave you to choose for yourself before you were a Muslim, if He left you upon that, He would have been just in doing so. Subhanahu wa ta'ala. Or before you were back to practicing your religion, if He left you upon that, He would have been just in doing so. And the person, they need to beg Allah tabaraka wa ta'ala for His favor, and beg Allah tabaraka wa ta'ala for His guidance, and know that if Allah tabaraka wa ta'ala had left them upon their oppressive and ignorant nature, that they would have been destroyed. وسبب الظلم إما جهل وإما حاجة وهي في الأصل جاهلة والحاجة لازمة لها. He said, in the cause of oppression, he said, because all evil, as he mentioned elsewhere in his book, that all evil comes from ignorance and dhulm. Al-jahl and al-dhulm is aslu kulli shar. It is the root of every evil. It comes from ignorance and oppressiveness. Ignorance and oppression. He said that the cause of oppression either comes from ignorance or from haja, or a person knowing better, but they're feeling that the only way to get what they feel as though they need is by taking the right of another, oppressing another human being. He said, and so the soul in its asl is created, it comes from the womb of his mother, jahila, ignorant. This is the asl of the person, is that they are ignorant. وَالْحَاجَةُ لَازِمَةٌ لَهَا. And the person is never in a condition where they are free of being in need, which is the cause of oppression. فَلِذَلِكَ كَانَ أَمْرُهَا بِالسُّوءِ أَمْرًا لَازِمًا لَهَا. And for this reason, because a person is ignorant, and because they always have needs that they feel that the only way they can get is al-wasa'il tubarrir al-ghayat. Al-ghayat tubarrir al-wasa'il. It's to follow the Machiavellian principle that the da'wah of the jama'at al-hizbiyah and Western politics and the da'wah of the shaitan is built upon. The Machiavellian principle is the Shaykh Rabi'. He said the Ikhwanis, their principle, their manhaj is built upon the Machiavellian principle. The Western principle of al-ghayat tubarrir al-wasa'il. The ends justify the means. The ends justify the means. If you didn't have guidance and didn't realize that the affair is entirely in the hand of Allah Tabarak wa Ta'ala, and that you are in need of Allah Tabarak wa Ta'ala, and that you have to take your haja, your need and your faqr, and your dire situation to Allah Tabarak wa Ta'ala, and learn the religion of Allah Tabarak wa Ta'ala to remove from yourself al-ilm wal-jahl, you will be halik min al-halka wa ma aktharahum. You will be just another lost, destroyed person. You will be just another lost and destroyed person. 99 min kulli alfin fi an-nar. 999 every 1,000 persons will be in the hellfire. The hadith of Abdullah ibn Amr. لو حلك المنافقون لاستوحشتم في الطرق من قلة السالكين عليها لكثرتهم على ظهر الأرض وفي أجواف القبور. And some of the Salat, they said, if the munafiqun were all to die, the Muslims who profess Islam with their tongues while harboring nifaqun akbar, kufrun akbar, major disbelief in their heart that makes them not Muslims in front of Allah Tabarak wa Ta'ala. If they were all to die, be eradicated, lastawhashtum fil turuq. And you would be alone in the pathways and the roadways because of the abundance of them in the face of the earth and the depths of the grave. Ma aktharuhum. And how many are the mubtadi'ah? How many are the munafiqun? How many are the kuffar? How many are the mushrikun? Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala chose you for Islam. Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala guided you to Islam. And the way to rectify your soul is al-ilm wal-adl, is to receive the mercy of Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala by learning your religion and learning the rights of Allah and the rights of the creation of Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala and fulfilling them and making that nusbu anik, yani the focus of your eyes. He said, and for this reason, because a person is always in a situation where they are to begin with ignorant, and they are always in a state of need, then the soul is constantly ordering you with evil. إِن لَمْ تُدْرِكَ رَحْمَةُ اللَّهِ وَفَضْلُهُ. And it will be like that unless the mercy and the bounty of Allah reaches it. وَبِهَذَا يُعْلَمْ أَنَّ ضَرُورَةَ الْعَبْدِ إِلَى رَبِّهِ فَوْقَ كُلِّ ضَرُورَةٍ. He said, and for this reason it is known that the need of the slave for his Lord is above every need. وَلَا تُشْبِهُهَا ضَرُورَةٌ تُقَاسُ بِهَا. And there is no other need that in any way can come close to it or can be compared to it. فإنه إن أمسك عنه رحمة وتوفيقه وهدايته طرفة عين خسر وهلك. For verily if Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala was to withhold His mercy and His tawfiq, His guidance and His hidayah from the person for the blinking of an eye, khasira wa halak, he will be lost and destroyed. And this is where we'll stop. هذا وصلى الله وسلم وبارك على نبينا محمد